Indeed. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Wins Staten Island Borough President Candidate Forum. I am Michael DeVito, a member of the Youth Wins team, a member of the NICED team, a member of the Staten Island team. Absolutely. For young people, please note one and all that this is being recorded and that it will be shared on the Youth Wins YouTube page and through other social media channels later on today. Please also note that we had invited all three Staten Island Borough President candidates to attend this event, and we appreciate the presence of those that were able to join us and engage in a vital discussion about how young people are going to be served by our borough president. So Youth Wins, we are a collaborative of Staten Island organizations that focus on workforce development and educational attainment for disconnected young people aged 16 to 24 years old. To my young people who are out there engaged and connected to all of our partners, we are invested in you as you are investing in yourself. We are out there each and every day with you, helping you become financially stable and economically mobile. I applaud each and every one of you that are in this space today, ready to ask your questions, because check it out, everyone. You are in the hiring process right now. We are going to hire a borough president in just a few short days, and you are participating in the process to ensure that the person that we hire has the skills to pay the bills. And that means your bills, to make sure that you're putting food on your table. Our objective today in this event is to ensure that our youth's voices are being centered, to give young adults a platform to voice their needs, their perspectives, with candidates running currently for the Staten Island Borough President's office, and that have agreed to join us here today, and to have the candidates respond directly to those young people, because that is what it is all about. That is how democracy works. Posing questions, getting answers, later on being able to hold our elected officials accountable. And because of that, because we are in this space with respect and understanding, we have some norms. And I'd like to read them for you one by one, just to make sure that everybody is clear on how we are going to operate and interact today. And the first is to please keep yourself muted in this space that is so very near and yet so far away. Please be visible and on camera if possible. Use the chat to ask any questions. Our moderators will be constantly keeping track of them, and we'll share them with the candidates. We are on a tight time schedule here, so we're going to try to get this done as best as we possibly can. Please, and in light of that, use language that is appropriate for families, that avoids offending one another. Do not participate in negative commentary towards any of the candidates here. Feel free to engage Youth Wins throughout this event via Facebook, or as I call it, Facey Space, Instagrammy, whatever you're doing. If you're going to tweet, get out there and use our hashtag, which is @YouthWins. And here we are. Here we are together with two candidates. The format for this, so apparently my notes have disappeared off there, so I'm winging it now. So thanks for having slides, everybody. All right, candidates will each have 2 minutes per question. The candidates will answer those questions based on 3 focus areas that the Youth Wins and the young people have come together to find the most relevant topics and the struggles and barriers that young people are dealing with every day here on Staten Island. And our candidates are, is that what our survey says? Is that the next thing I'm doing here? We have the Democratic candidate, Mark Murphy, and the Conservative Party candidate, Leticia Remauro, here with us today. And they have graced me with not having to read their incredible bios. Rather, they have decided to introduce themselves. And I think that I would say dealer's choice, or what have you. I let the candidates decide who would like to go first here. I applaud you both for being here, and most importantly to my young people, peace and love, and I applaud you guys for being here. So without further ado, candidates,
Well, Mark, do you want to go first since you're an M and I'm an R?
Ladies first, Leticia, always.
Okay.
Ladies
Well,
and
thank
gentlemen
you.
being ladies and gentlemen, right?
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. My name is Leticia Remauro, and I am proud to be with you today. And I'm humbled to be here to interview for the position of Borough President. An interview I want to do. I want you to ask me questions. And I'll start, though, by telling you a little bit about myself. I started my own business when I was 21 years old. I was a restaurateur, and I had a restaurant in the South Shore of Staten Island because my grandmother taught me how to cook, and I decided to bring the old family recipes to people. I realized, though, that the small business owners were being taxed out of New York. And so I became involved in government. I worked for Mayor Giuliani, then I worked for Governor Pataki, and ultimately I wound up working for the Battery Park City Authority, which is a community that is planned at the base. It's at the foot of New York City. It's 92 acres, and it was a planned community. And what we did there was we built the first environmentally friendly building in all of the world. And it is called the Solaire, and it still stands today. And then we planned the rest of the buildings there to be environmentally friendly, which meant it was healthy for humans and also the environment. But while I was there, we suffered the attacks of 9/11. And so I helped to recuperate the downtown area and the Battery Park City area after 9/11. I also was serving as Community Board 1 chair, and unfortunately I had to help recover the East Shore from Sandy as a member of Community Board. And I actually led the Community Board response team for Sandy. And we did such things as making sure that people had food they didn't have kitchens anymore. So we had a food pantry, and we created a Thanksgiving feast for everybody in the neighborhood. And then we went through Christmas, and we created a free shopping spree along with the fashion industry at South Fin. So I have been basically volunteering my time for Staten Island for over 20 years because I'm pretty old. I'm 58 years old, but I started at a young age. I was married and I had 2 kids in a house by the time I was 19. But I recognized that things are changing. Young people don't live the same as when I was younger. Young people want to live vertically. They want to live together. They may not want to have a house at such a young age. And so I want to take the planning that I learned in Battery Park City, and I want to bring it here to Staten Island, because the biggest job that a borough president has is that they plan the way the island moves, the budget for the island, the roads for the island, the public transportation for the island, and also the education for the island. One of the things I'm really focused on is making sure that we have true vocational training in high school, meaning that we work with the unions and we create training for good paying jobs using our hands for those kids that might not choose college but would prefer to work with their hands. And the other thing is economic development. The borough president must bring economic development to this borough so that our young people can live here and stay here. Too many of you are leaving Staten Island to find an apartment somewhere else, find a job somewhere else. I want to keep you here because your roots are here, and I want you to be able to be an entrepreneur if you want to be, or work for somebody else with your hands, work in the union, work for the city, or do something else altogether, maybe work on Broadway. There's so many opportunities here in New York City, and in Staten Island, we should open up those doors for everybody to have that opportunity. So I'm Leticia Remauro, and I'm interviewing for the job of borough president, and I thank you for allowing me to see you tonight.
Thank you so very much. And now, Mr. Murphy.
Michael, thank you so much. Leticia, thank you. I am Mark Murphy. I'm running for borough president of Staten Island. And I really believe we need to make Staten Island cleaner, greener, safer, and stronger. That goes to speak to everything about Staten Island. I have a background as a business person. I have a real estate brokerage business. I have a contracting business. And I have a finance and advisory business that advises people on real estate and construction. And it's something that has given me the opportunity to intersect my business interests into so many different parts of government, so many different parts of the economy, to see where we are struggling today in so many places and to see where we are succeeding in many places. And it gives me the opportunity to meet hundreds, if not thousands, during a campaign, thousands of people, to hear what is important to them. And what I'm hearing today, what I'm hearing from business owners, and what I'm hearing from people, and what I'm hearing from my partners in government, is that there are needs. We have an economy that needs to reopen. We have people that need to go back to school and get educated. We need people to go back to work. All of these needs are out there. And I believe it's my responsibility as somebody who looks to lead our community as an advocate to help them fulfill those needs. I've had the great opportunity, now that we've only got 2 weeks left in this race, to have a number of these forums, to listen to the other candidates, as well as know what my positions are. And I really want everyone to understand that I love this community. I live in the North Shore of Staten Island in West Brighton. I grew up, and again, I can't say I was born on Staten Island, so people don't, I got in a fight with the Staten Island Advance over them telling me I'm not a native because my mother was uptown that day. But I am a fourth generation Staten Islander, and my family came from Barker Street, right down off Castleton Avenue and by the West Brighton houses. And I live not far from that same place that they came. And I really believe in giving back to my community, and I have done so. When I was working for the public advocate of the city of New York, I had the opportunity to represent Staten Island and South Brooklyn and Queens, and help so many kids that were in nest programs in Mid-Island when the Department of Education wanted to displace those children and send them off to middle schools or high schools that they were not matriculating on with their friends. I thought it was wrong, and we fought the city, and we won. So those kids could stay in a safe environment where they weren't exposed to great anxiety, and they weren't hurt, really. And that's the problem. I think government hurts us a lot sometimes. They punish Staten Island, and they put a one-size-fits-all plan on top of a town that is far from one-size-fits-all. In addition, when our seniors, here we are very young, and we don't always, we take for granted that when we're older, we're not as able to stand up for ourselves as we can now. But when our seniors in our NYCHA buildings and our seniors in some of our large apartment buildings in Staten Island didn't have heat or hot water, I got that hot water turned back on for them. And when the city of New York refused to turn that water off, that heat off in the summertime, I got those heaters turned off and let these folks live in dignity. To me, it's about giving back that way. It's about doing what we can to help our community. As it relates to education, we have some exceptional schools in the North Shore of Staten Island. We have exceptional schools in the Mid-Island and the South Shore. The Mid-Island schools and the South Shore are not as crowded or overcrowded as the North Shore schools. We do have PS 70 coming along. We have another one coming, which is a couple years away, further down near Stapleton. And it's really important that we continue to invest in school infrastructure, to have schools there. We look at Curtis at 140% capacity, and we really need to make sure that we can create an annex somewhere. I've suggested that we fulfill an RFP that the city has for an annex for STEM and vocational studies, so kids that have a knack for mathematics or have an interest in engineering and science and technology can fulfill those interests and go in the direction of those jobs, which I want to bring to Staten Island as well. And vocational studies, as well as Leticia said. Not every child needs to think that they need to grow up and become a great lawyer or a radiologist. They can go and work in the trades in New York City and in Staten Island in these phenomenal union jobs that pay very, very well, that have protections, that have pensions, yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we want to get started with the questions, and a lot of things that you're talking about now will come up with the questions that we post.
So in any event, I am Mark Murphy. I'm running for borough president. I can't wait to answer some more questions. We'll talk about that stuff later. Thanks, Roman. Timekeeper.
Excellent. Thank you so much to each of the candidates for those thorough opening remarks. I am now going to pass it to my brother, Alan Abadano from Concord High School. He is the program director at the school for New York Center for Interpersonal Development. Alan, brother, take it away.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Leticia and Mark, for joining us today. Means a lot to our youth. So I'm Alan Avedano, the Learning to Work Program Director with NYSET at Concord High School. The Learning to Work program offers students a range of programs and workshops, as well as real-world experiences in the community through our internship program. Prepare students for the world of work after high school. Students are also provided with an advocate counselor who helps provide resources and support in their academic, social, and emotional development. Additionally, we have students here representing NYSET's YVC program, allow students to obtain high school credits in the evening. The YVC program has been run out of Tottenville High School, but this year we were able to add a North Shore location at Concord High School as well, which has been phenomenal. From these schools, we have 3 young men who are going to ask questions in 3 categories. First, academics, then social emotional development, mental health, and finally, post-secondary planning in the world of work. As a reminder, please keep your answers to 2 minutes. If you begin to run over, Mr. Roman Jackson will jump in to offer a gentle reminder to wrap it up. After we finish all 3 categories, we may have our students ask 1 more question in each category if time allows. And first up, we have Curtis Harris from Concord High School, who will ask 2 questions on academics. Curtis, take it away.
Hi, how is everyone? Oh, I apologize for the appearance. There's a lot of things going on right now. But okay, so the first question we have, Staten Island school system is the most segregated in the United States by both race and socioeconomic status, leading to significant differences in educational outcomes, job opportunities, and long-term earning potential. How do you, as a candidate for borough president, believe this should be addressed in Staten
So
Island?
how do you want to answer it? Me first, then Mark, or Mark first, then me?
We'll allow Mark to go first since you went first the last time.
Hey, Curtis, great question. Thank you. You know, I would say the first 3 things I would like to do is I'd like to make sure that our kids know that people in government really do care for them and that they're trying to do the right thing. So I would like to expand programs so that all of the kids in Staten Island can have the opportunity to go to the specialized high schools that they want to, that they can get into a magnet program within their own school, a gifted and talented program within their own school, and get the training, because in reality it is training that they need to learn to take the standardized tests that will allow them to get into those schools. And I think that there's a DREAM program right now, and I'd like to expand that DREAM program so that kids start earlier in the 5th grade, getting the skill set that they need to take the specialized high school the SHSAT test for the DOE. And that to me is a big push that I want to have. I was very lucky. My parents gave to me the opportunity to go to a Princeton review class when I needed to take my SATs. A lot of good it did me because I didn't do very well in my SATs anyway. But I don't want other kids to that don't have that same opportunity. I want them to have that same opportunity. I want schools to give that to them and start earlier so that they can get that skill set. And then when it goes on to take the SATs later for college, they can actually excel on that standardized test and get into the college that they want. I mean, we also need to look at class size. And again, I've talked about overcrowding of Curtis. I've talked about overcrowding of the IS and PS on Daniel O. Terrace. We need to make sure we have other schools that will allow there to be individualized lesson plans, smaller class size, and more access to Wi-Fi, access to the internet, and access to computers for these kids. We've got to team up with the large corporations that wish to come to Staten Island and profit from Staten Islanders buying their goods and services like Amazon, and ask them, look at Apple and ask them to start getting hardware into the hands of kids so that they can stay at the same pace with each other and grow technologically. Those are the 3 things that I'd like to focus on. And again, that's how I see us bridging the divide of, as you said, the largest segregation, I guess, in schools, or I would look at it as a monetary gap or an income gap, where those who are not as fortunate don't always have access to all of the same tools as those who are fortunate. I want to try to end that, and at least level that playing field and give every kid the opportunity to succeed.
So Curtis, a lot of people don't know this, but I was in my early years a product of special education. I had a physical disability, and so I wound up in a special ed class because my principal didn't want me climbing the stairs, and it wasn't an option for me to use the elevator at that time in the 1960s. And so thankfully my teacher understood that I had the ability to learn at a accelerated rate, but because we were in a special ed class, what she did was she adjusted my curriculum, and she actually made me a teacher's aide. And so she encouraged me to think outside the box. And because of her telling me that I could do anything that I wanted to do, and teaching me that I can learn anywhere with anything, I recognize that her foundation is why I'm where I am today. Now, I should also tell you, I dropped out of school in the 9th grade and I returned to school later on. As I said, I had my family when I was young, but I opened my business at age 21 because the words of Mrs. Imbelstein in the back of my head was always there, that you can do anything you want if you apply yourself and if you have the right tools. As borough president, we are going to be able to, either Mark or I, will be able to point people to the Community Education Council, which is so very important. And I think that the most important tools that schools can give to children is getting them ready for adult life. Too many children right now are graduating out of school without the ability to read or even sign their name in script. They don't understand how to balance a checkbook. They don't understand money, and money is changing, right? So it's not just the old dollar bills and the coins, but we're now talking about Bitcoin and other things. So I think that what we have to do in Staten Island is we have to understand the way our world is changing and prepare young people for whatever they want to be in the future. As I said in my opening remarks, that maybe some young people want to be entrepreneurs and start their own business right out of the gate. I was fortunate to be working with the Chamber of Commerce, the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce, and the YA program, which is the Young Entrepreneur Academy, where young people from all high schools across Staten Island came to the group with an idea of creating a business, and business people like myself help them to get that business off the ground. Many of those businesses were sold and are actually successful today. So I'd like to do more of that. Right now, with my work with the Jersey Street Merchant Association, what I do is I bring the Kiwanis clubs, the men and women from business organizations, to Jersey Street to help young people understand what they might want to do as a young entrepreneur, where they might want to go in the future. So education, I think, to serve everybody, no matter your ethnicity, no matter your religion, no matter your sex. I think that education must get all of our children prepared for adulting, if you will. And adulting is going to be a good job in the field that they're comfortable with. And there are so many terrific fields. And so that's, as borough president, my goal would really be to get that vocational training in high school, and to also career counseling for our young people as early as junior high school, because that's when kids are they're so accelerated these days, and with technology so much at their fingertips. So we have to just put that foundation down so that everybody can be anything they want to be.
Well, thank you both. And I think we allowed you both to go over, but I think from now on, we're going to be a little bit more strict with the 2-minute allotment. And I'll give you both a 30-second warning.
Good.
Okay, so next, remote learning options were eliminated this school year as opposed to last year. It didn't work for all, but it was beneficial for some in our community for a variety of reasons. Do you believe remote learning should be an option made available to the community, and why? What resources would you be able to commit to making available to Staten Island youth and their families for better access to remote learning?
How would you like us to go again?
And Mrs. You can both switch off, and so whoever went
Okay.
first,
All right.
last, yeah.
All right, so I'll answer first. So I'm a bit of a geek, and I truly embrace technology. I love it, and I think that we have to be prepared for the world to come. So as borough president, here's the really cool thing: we get to give money to nonprofit organizations and organizations that are going to help, guide Staten Island into the future. As borough president, it is my goal to make sure that my CEC appointees will vote for remote learning option. I think you rightly stated that for some it was good, for others not so good. So there should always be that ability, right? And especially if we see, and I'd like to see a little bit more data, for those kids that enjoyed the remote learning option, did they get more engaged? Did they attend school better? And were their grades rising? So there's in New York City, and the biggest, largest, greatest school system in the country, we should have at our disposal, at all of our students' disposal, technology to make learning easy and the ability to learn all the time. And for those kids that might be out sick, or if there's snow days, the ability for kids to still learn is a great thing. Now, don't get me wrong, kids need to be kids, and depending on their age, I don't say that they should be stuck in front of a computer all the time, but I'd like to see an opportunity for an integration.
All right, 30 seconds to spare.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I yield my time back to the distinguished gentlelady. Okay, so, as we look at this meeting right now, here we are on Zoom. We're learning something. We're engaging with each other. We're able to accomplish what we would do 2 years ago in person, and probably do it in a more efficient manner. I don't have to drive to where we are. We don't have to book a room. We don't have to do all these things. And again, that doesn't make up for in-person interactions at all. When we run these campaigns, we have to go out. We've got to talk to people on the streets. We've got to talk to people at front doors. We've got to talk to people in large halls. But we also have to talk to people on Zooms. And I think that goes for education too. We have thousands and thousands of school students in Staten Island. We have teachers that are there in class with them. And we have many of them, especially now with these vaccine mandates and with the pandemic not over with, and we have teachers that have health issues and they can't be vaccinated, and they're not giving any leeway for them. I think there's an opportunity to have a model where we have those teachers who are exceptional educators, I'm sure, teach online to the students who are sick as well, or who are home for some other variety of reasons. I think that's really important to look at. And again, some of the rules the city of New York makes are that if you are sick because of COVID, you're allowed to go to school online, but if you have the common cold, you can't go to that same class online, and you have to stay home. So to me, I want to see there be and use the office of the borough president to publicly advocate for these type of common sense, smart changes to the Department of Education, which under the thumb of Bill de Blasio has been an absolute disaster. And I really think we need to be understanding of all kids in all boroughs and try to take care of the best needs for them. I don't necessarily want to see the snow day go away, because I think all the kids want to go sleigh riding in Silver Lake or someplace like that. And what they'll say is, oh, it's a snow day, so now everybody goes to school online that day. But one day a year, a snow day is always a good thing. But as it relates to these other things, there are opportunities to go to school in person and go to school remotely, and it will ensure that children don't fall behind if they are sick, if they have strep throat, if they have the flu, or if they have COVID, or if they just simply can't get there that day because of some other extenuating circumstance, that we have a program that they can still keep up and be in a virtual classroom. And that's something I will advocate for, and something that is very important to me.
Right, thank you. Mr. Murphy, you went over by 30 seconds. I don't want to have to mute you.
Well, that's okay. I was short 30, so he had my 30. There you go.
Fine. Fair enough. Curtis, let's give us the next question.
I think we're moving to the second bucket.
That's right. My apologies.
No worries. Okay, the second area of focus is social and emotional learning and mental health. And to ask those questions is John Adabelli from Tauntonville's YBC program. John, thank you.
Hello, I'm John Adabelli. Unfortunately, I can't turn my camera on right now because there's a lot going on right now. But here's the question. The pandemic took a significant toll on Staten Island community, with more than 1 in every 250 islanders dying of COVID-19. Though the physical health of youth was less affected than others, we deal with the loss of loved ones, the shuttering of local businesses, job losses for ourselves and relatives, and a loss of essential social interaction, resulting in an increase in mental health issues and substance abuse. Given that Staten Island has historically been allocated less resources than other boroughs to address these concerns, how will you feel, if elected, advocate for an increase in resources to combat this crisis?
I think you go first, Mark.
Okay. Hey, John, thank you very much for the question. You know, I think it's very important to recognize that we've seen an increase, especially to at-risk children, folks that have, you know, are very sensitive and have anxiety issues and so forth. I have a son who is very sensitive to these things. He's not on the spectrum, but he does have, he's very sensitive to triggers that cause him to be anxious. And as you know, we have to have a para forum and things like that. And I think that it's very important that we have the programs for kids in schools, that it helps prevent the mental, it doesn't prevent, but it enhances the mental health of the child in school. And that's something that I think is very important. We need to recognize these kids and how to get them to treatment that they need, how to get them a para when they need it, how to get them, and again, the administration of this is very difficult. And I want, as a borough president, I want to make sure that we have someone in our office that helps people navigate through that administration, because it's always, oh, I could never get the para, or I could never get the help or the program I need. And I want to be able to help people get that help. I also want to make sure that kids, you know, we have very early intervention for drug treatment and drug rehabilitation early on, and education to let kids know that, you know, drugs are not, you know, a good thing, and that they don't need to be experimented with. And again, early intervention to me is the best way to prevent people from falling into the cycle of addiction. And we need to have programs in school to assist with that. Programs, you know, like Camelot and Daytop, which I have very good friends that are work there. Those programs need to get funded, but that's outside of school, and those are sort of reactionary to the addiction issues, which I think you were talking about. So again, I think we just want to make sure that we have the educational resources for people, we have the paras for kids, and that we have the support systems in place, and that the borough president's office will be able to help in any way to get those programs when people administratively have a hard time achieving that need.
So John, as I said before, I'm a technological geek, and you know, technology can be helpful here as well. First and foremost, a borough president is an advocate for Staten Island, right? And she's going to be a planner for Staten Island. And that means making sure that we get the money and the services that we need. But fortunately, with technology, I have a friend who works with the YMCA Counseling Center, and the ability to be able to log on and to be able to speak to people both over the phone and through technology was helpful to many to keep them on track during this very, very sad time. The more information we could give to young people about the disease of addiction early on, the less likely people will be to go down the road and start to experiment with drugs that could ultimately find them in trouble. The ability to get rid of, I guess, getting people to talk, and to talk about what they hope for the future, and getting young people to plan for their future is also a way to encourage people to be to deal with their anxiety, their depression. I mean, I think at the end of the day, people feel most secure when they have hope for what's going to happen next. This last almost 2 years has affected everyone. I don't care how strong a person is. We have all been affected with this pandemic, and we're all looking for a better day and for a better time and to get through this. But when we come out the other side, things will be different. So being able to share, being able to talk, being able to identify feelings and struggles is really important. As a borough president, I would like to see psychologists attached to every school. And again, we could use technology to do that, right? We had an earlier question about segregation in schools. Well, utilizing technology takes down walls and puts everybody together and brings resources to everyone. So as a borough president, I'd like to be able to, affect the Department of Education and the education system to utilize technology more so that the same resources could be given out across the whole entire school system, and information can be shared in that way as well. So, the advocacy to get the money that we need, technology so that everybody has the ability to have the resources, and psychologists attached to at least districts, so that young people who feel that they need a little bit of extra assistance can get it early before they go down the path of drinking and drugs and just depression.
Okay, thank you. The next question, there are limited mental health therapists in our community, and they do not often fully reflect the diversity of our borough, nor are linguistically competent to adequately serve the diverse languages reflected in our Staten Island population. Folks seeking care often face barriers such as long waits, lack of insurance, or insufficient insurance. How will you use your role to expand and diversify the capacity of our mental health therapists? I think you're going for
Ms.
this.
Marema, I think you're up.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Leticia, you're
I'm
first.
up. Okay. So, access to healthcare is very important on Staten Island. And right now, with over 500,000 people in Staten Island and only 2 hospitals, and right now with many nurses and doctors and hospital workers being fired without unemployment because they're not eligible to get the vaccine, we're in a real difficult time in Staten Island. As borough president, my goal is to make sure that our healthcare system, mental health as well as physical health, is accessible to all. The one thing that I do understand is that our hospitals are being used differently than they've ever been used before. In other words, where somebody would go to the hospital for a surgery or for other reasons and have to stay in for 2 and 3 days, that's not the way it is anymore. Generally, most things are done on an outpatient basis, and so the rooms in the hospital beds are often empty. What I'd like to see is an expansion of emergency services on Staten Island so that we can handle the influx of patients, because our emergency rooms are way over capacity. I'd like to see a surgical center here on Staten Island, one where both Rumsey and SIUH could schedule surgeries there. I'd like to see our campus, our mental health campus, actually expanded. We had drug and alcohol treatment in the north side of Bailey Seton Hospital, which we don't have anymore. So we really do need to take a look at how we can adequately serve all of the health needs of Staten Islanders and make sure that even if you don't have insurance, you have access to quality health care. And because we don't have a public hospital here on Staten Island, I, as community board chair, have been demanding since I was board chair, that 20% of the proceeds come here to Staten Island to pay for, to help Rumsey and SIUH.
Okay. You know, as we talk about this, and we talk about mental health therapists in our community, we talk about people needing therapy and needing the access to that, I couldn't want to help more in that respect. One of the things that my family has done here is they have founded a foundation called Camp Good Grief of Staten Island. My mother-in-law did this after the loss of my brother-in-law in 9/11. And they did this because they wanted all children to know that they wouldn't have to grieve alone. And it wasn't just specific to 9/11, it was children who lost parents to cancer and to car accidents and to a variety of other things. That, you know, a few times a year we could get together with mental health counselors and we let them know and teach them that they are not alone in their grief. This goes a lot further into allowing these kids on a daily basis to find access. And we've found access for them to get to a mental health counselors, and it's a way we've been able to, you know, find programs and people that would do this for free. It's sort of taking that mindset, and again, I spend a lot of my time helping there. It's taking that mindset to the borough president's office, and we, in my opinion, you know, they have a doctor on staff or part of the portfolio of the borough president's office to advise on these things, and to get a mental health therapist to the community and to encourage more use of them. I think we need to look to groups like, you know, the Staten Island Partnership for Community Wellness, which is a really good program. It's just one example of a program where we could get money to them to integrate mental, behavioral, physical health across all educational systems. You know, there are for many, many more of those programs, but that's one in particular. And again, we could keep talking about this offline, or you could see my website if you wanted to see more on that one particular subject.
All right.
Thank you. We're actually doing pretty good on time, and we're going to have John ask the third question in the category of social and emotional learning and mental health. If you're to be, you know, thank you, John, again, to stay on deck, and please go ahead.
Okay. The last question. The quality of life and well-being of our young adults is often affected by the sense of food and housing security. Many youths rely on the breakfast and lunch offered in their school cafeterias for their daily meals, especially if they don't have the option to exit the building during school hours or cannot afford to bring their own lunch from home. Youth WINS polled Staten Island youth who identified the need for access to better food options at school as a challenge related to their education. If elected, how would you ensure that young people have access to better food options that would sustain them throughout their school day?
All right, Mr. Murphy, you're up first.
Okay, thank you. Number one, I just want to make it abundantly clear that as borough president, I want to ensure that every single child who goes to school, regardless of their religion or cultural background, and if they desire to have a kosher or a halal meal, gets them. It's not fair that a child would go to school and not be able to have a protein with their breakfast or their lunch because it was not appropriate for them religiously or culturally. That's number one. And so I want to make sure that we have that for every student in Staten Island. It's a commitment I've made. I've been working with a number of people who would be happy to supply them should there ever be a shortcoming to any public school in Staten Island. Those 2 meals that children get at school sometimes are the only 2 guaranteed meals that they're going to get in a day. They may not have dinner at home. I want to make sure that those meals are as nutritious and as fulfilling as humanly possible. I am not familiar with the Youth Wins poll, but I'd like to see what kids want. We have this island of Staten Island. This island of Staten has incredible food. We have incredible vendors that can make food. I know we can get great food into our New York City schools that is healthy and enables kids to, not be lethargic after having, say, a pizza or a burger. So I want to make sure we have a really good, healthy choice for them because, again, that's a sensory issue as well. If a child, doesn't like certain things, they're not going to eat, and we need to make sure that we get things that are appropriate for them. I'd like to talk to more people and more educators about this to see what we can get for these kids, for our kids, and that's what I'd like to do, is learn a little bit more about what's available, and let's see how we can get it into their hands and into their bellies, if you will.
Well, food is so important, and the access to food is very important. And that's why when I was Community Board 1 chair, I worked hard to get the first supermarket in St. George in 40 years to open. And I worked to get the Green Market in the St. George Theater parking lot. I work on a regular basis with the JCC and Project Hospitality to stock up the food pantries and to make sure that it is that we have food going out to as many people as need that, whether it be senior citizens or young people. But I think that the most important thing I can do as a borough president, besides making sure that these organizations that help to feed people and help to teach people, and young people especially, about the right food choices, I think that the most important thing that I can do is make information available, because too many people don't know what's available to them. And I hear it all the time. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I hear it because what I've been doing for the last 20 some years is advocating and being a conduit to from government to people, and letting people know what their tax dollars are paying for. So, the most important thing I think that the borough president does is recognize all of Staten Island, right? All of the different people and all of the different incomes, making sure that we have opportunity always for everyone and that nobody is left behind. And that happens when you have a borough hall that is open with meetings, with district service cabinet meetings every single month, and with borough board meetings, which, for those of you who don't know, the borough boards is where the borough president meets with the city council members and the community boards and the community every single month to plan what's next on the agenda for Staten Island. Unfortunately, up until these last several years, those meetings are mandated in the city charter, but they're just gavelled in and gavelled out, and not everybody knows that they're going on. So as your borough president, my goal is to make sure that everybody has the information. I'll use technology, I'll use in-person, I'll use whatever resources I can, including a bullhorn, to make sure that everybody knows that what's out there and available for them.
All right, thank you. I think we're going to move on to focus area number 3 now.
Thank you so much. Focus area number 3 is post-secondary planning, internships, job training, and workforce development. And to ask those questions is Zion Williams from Concord High School. Zion, you're up. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Zion Williams. My question is, many youth on Staten Island, whether they have graduated or not, begin working in retail or in low-level jobs for large corporations that Staten Island has been friendly to, but takes their time and attention away from colleges and our career prep opportunities. With the growing trend towards online shopping and increasing use of robots at some of these companies, these fairly low wage jobs do not provide long-term job prospects nor living wages. If elected, how would you, as borough president, work towards bringing better long-term life-sustaining careers to Staten Island, particularly in the fastest growing job sectors such as green energy production or installation in healthcare industry or in trade?
Okay, so I guess I'm first. So thank you, Zion, for the question. I have to tell you that the attracting new business to Staten Island is one of the #1 jobs of a borough president. And I'm really excited that last week, we cut a ribbon on Jersey Street for 3 new mom and pop stores. And one was a pharmacy, the first pharmacy to be located on Jersey Street in about 50 years. So as borough president, you know, my focus will be on not only attracting big box development, right? Because we have a lot of that out there, and a lot of them are the ones that have survived COVID. You've seen it, right? You've seen Amazon grow, you've seen CVS grow, you've seen Walmart grow. These big retailers have grown, but mom and pops have been struggling to you know, actually just keep up. And in reality, the first jobs for most people, the first opportunity for most people will be with a mom and pop store in their neighborhood. So as a borough president, yes, I will absolutely think about and focus on new technology and bigger corporations and getting them to locate here on Staten Island. But I think that a really important thing is for us to use our town structure in Staten Island. And we've all gone through these towns, right? When we take the train and we get off and there are all the shops, and we see too many of them with, you know, plywood on the windows because they went out due to COVID, or they went out because these big mega corporations have come in and they're the ones that are taking, you know, all of the business. So for me, I think that it's twofold. We have to make sure that those mom and pop stores actually stay open and have the resources they need to be open. And that can mean a local development corporation or a merchant association. And also at the same time, we have a great big swath of land on the West Shore that can attract manufacturers to Staten Island, working with our hands, making something. And that's what we need to do as we move more and more companies into America, and we stop depending on, you know, other companies from overseas to make our goods. We can make it right here on Staten Island. So as borough president, that will be my focus.
Zion, thank you. You know, as it relates to education, I mean, this is an enormous sort of subject matter, and we can't really address it in 2 minutes. But as it relates to education, I plan as borough president. We have the right we have the power to introduce legislation in the city council, to introduce legislation, and then a resolution that we will send to the state legislature to extend to companies who hire CUNY and SUNY students the option to receive tax credits. This would incentivize employers to hire employees with student loan debts, and in many cases provide employment to students who need the jobs the most. Education shouldn't have to stop after high school, and our children deserve a fair shot at living a life without crippling college debt. In terms of trade, in the trades, I think we really have to start introducing more vocational programs into schools. The jobs in New York City and the trillions of dollars of infrastructure that are ultimately going to come pouring out of the federal government into New York we're going to be building World Trade Center #2. You're going to be building more up at the Hudson Yards. You're going to need union electricians, union steam fitters, union iron workers. We're talking about really good paying jobs that frankly, have protections and pay better in the beginning than college degree paying jobs. I want to make sure that people know that those vocational jobs are there. And I want to also, again, we go to the STEM programs, make sure that there are science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programs in our schools to encourage people to go into tech. Leticia talks about the West Shore and manufacturing using our hands. I think we should be looking at, big pharma coming here. I think we should be looking at high tech coming here so that we're manufacturing or we're producing or we're doing things using our minds. And that is how we're going to hire more people and also make sure that those large corporations that come here like Amazon, where Jeff Bezos can afford to send Shatner to space, they start paying people a living wage, a union wage. It is a human rights crisis, what is occurring at the Amazon plant right now. They need to start paying people a union wage, and we need to make sure that those employees and people who choose to go to work in those warehouses are protected, that if they get hurt on the job, they're not just thrown to the wayside like so many children I've met are, young people in their 20s with wrecked legs and arms from machinery that's rolled over them, and they get nothing. I want to make sure that any employee in Staten Island, our young people too, are protected.
All right, my next question is 7 in 20 Staten Islanders commute to work by trains, bus, bicycle, or on foot. How will you use your position if elected to support those who do not travel by car and face limited options when traveling to work?
Who goes first this time?
That would be
You're up, Mark.
Oh, okay, good. Look, I really, excuse me, I'm sorry, say hi, Jake.
Hi.
All right, go on in the other. If she's here. Okay, then open the door, make sure it's her.
we won't count that.
All right, I'm gonna say this right now.
Okay.
My wife left work at 6 o'clock, got the fast ferry across, and it's 7:03. Door to door, it's better than having to wait for the Staten Island ferry. Those are the programs we need to do, and as borough president, I want to see the 6th borough of New York become our waterway. All right, don't open it until she gets here. Hold on, please wait. And then we have a bus rapid transit system that goes across the island, that we go from the ferry terminal all the way to Port Richmond, all the way to Mariners Harbor, and then into the teleport and over there. Hold on, I'm almost done.
It's fresh direct.
Okay, it's fresh direct.
It's fresh direct, Mark. Go answer the door.
We get that, and we get that too. So we have those programs. It's one of the reasons I've been endorsed by Local 726, Local 100, our ATU transit workers, are because they know my commitment to making sure we get more buses on the road to get people home quicker. We get those fast ferries where the train hits Stapleton and then makes that big L turn. We get a fast ferry there that goes to Brooklyn. We get a fast ferry there that goes to the Upper East Side of Manhattan too. Because going just from St. George, it's exceptional. You can hit the World Trade Center, you can hit Hudson Yards, and you're in Manhattan in less than 15 minutes to the lower, 20 minutes to the upper. And these are the programs that I look to continue to encourage. And I did that with that little monster.
You know what? You get the cute kid enters the room credit. That was fantastic. What a wonderful young man he is.
Thank you, Leticia. Thank you.
So for me, transportation, that was my first position, was the transportation chair on the community board. And it's always been a passion of mine, public transportation. One of the things that I talk about on the campaign trail is smart traffic light technology. Now, let me tell you how that ties into public transportation. Smart traffic light technology is where, engineers watch traffic in real time, and they coordinate the lights so that the traffic flows. And what happens when that happens is your buses run more efficiently. Listen, Staten Island only really has bus service. We only have the one railroad, and that just runs from Tottenville to St. George. It's great for all the stops in between, but it doesn't give us a lot of options. So buses are our only option. So in order to move those buses forward, if we install smart traffic light technology and a system throughout Staten Island, we'll be able to move buses more efficiently. Then we don't need the bus lanes where the bus rides in the middle of the road. We can protect pedestrians and cyclists, because unfortunately, since Mayor de Blasio initiated Vision Zero, we have become less safe, not more safe. The the speed cameras are doing nothing to make us safe, doing everything to pick our pockets, and it's been doing nothing to move traffic. It's actually regressing in the traffic situation. So this smart traffic light technology that Mayor Bloomberg used in Midtown Manhattan Manhattan started to ease the traffic in Midtown, and it should have been adopted here on Staten Island, but it wasn't when Mayor de Blasio came in. We could pay for that installation with the excess revenue from the Verrazano Bridge tolls. About $150 million a year in excess revenue is given to the city of New York to improve public transportation. It's usually spent in the subway system. We don't get any of that money because we don't have a subway system. So I want them to spend that in smart traffic light technology. That would allow for more people on public transportation. Also, we can have docks for ferries all over Staten Island where it makes sense. I definitely want to see one in the South Shore. As a matter of fact, I was working on a project where the private developer was going to build a dock on the South Shore. A lot of people said that you couldn't have a ferry or a dock on the South Shore because it was too shallow. But I'll tell you that we brought New York Waterway, brought their big boat in, and we docked it at the Tottenville Marina, and we took a trip from the New York Waterway ferry from the Tottenville Marina to Midtown Manhattan in about 35 minutes. It's insane that we don't have water taxis all over Staten Island for people to hop on and hop off to get into the city. But also, as community board chair, I actually did create a couple of really good bike lanes, Clove Road and a couple of other areas that made sense. Not every area makes sense for a bicycle lane. But we have to like reimagine our traffic because quite frankly, more people are getting out of their cars and onto their bicycles. They're walking more. The North Shore especially is a great walking neighborhood and we should encourage that. And by making sure that our economic nucleus, our town nucleus is viable and we have great shops there, we can make it easier for people to live on Staten Island without a car. And that's my goal because I know a lot of people are wanting to get out of their car and we should. Every other borough we can travel in every other way. We should be able to do that here on Staten Island.
Thank you both. We actually have a few more minutes, so we're just going to have Zion, if you'd be so kind to ask the third question in that category.
And my third question is, what sectors or industries do you want to attract to Staten Island? Are you in talks with any parties, industries in hiring Staten Island youth?
So yeah, I think that we have the opportunity because we have our hospitals are our largest employers here on Staten Island, right? And then, as I said, on the West Shore, we have the ability for manufacturing. So I think that my focus will be to attract those businesses that support our health industry. Because, the wonderful thing about Staten Island is our youth are so smart. They really are. They are ready to work and they are self-starters. And we're better than in a hospital or in a laboratory, to get that first internship or that first job. So I'd like to see, maybe pharmaceutical manufacturing here on Staten Island that supports our healthcare system. I'd like to see more testing laboratories here on Staten Island. Again, we have the space for it. We have the ability. I'd like to see that surgical suite that we talked about. And when you have that industry here in Staten Island, you have entry-level jobs, and then you have the ability to learn as you work, to actually, change your career and rise higher in the ranks, and be able to start off and retire in the healthcare industry. Same with manufacturing.
Great question. I have been bringing business to Staten Island for a number of years. Just a few years ago, I brought United States Concrete Corporation to Staten Island when they were looking to essentially expand into Staten Island. They ended up buying Diamond Ready Mix. They bought Eastern Concrete. They have now been bought themselves by Vulcan Materials. So it is a goal of mine to see big businesses come were all very good, high-paying jobs. The drivers of those trucks were 282 Teamsters. People who worked on those sites were Local 14 operating engineers. Those were union jobs, very good paying ones at that. To me, also, we have a real great opportunity in the North Shore. We have the hospitality industry. And in the very beginning of this whole debate, we talked about ladies and gentlemen dealing with ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, that's really an important thing. You know, the hospitality industry is an enormous business in New York City. We have a hotel that is not yet built or finished right there next to the ferry terminal. We have the opportunity, and there's thousands of jobs that will go into that. We have the opportunity to train young people in hospitality. Cornell University upstate has one of the best hospitality schools in the United States. I'd like to see, and I've been talking to some of their board members there about bringing and maybe doing a partnership with CSI or one of our colleges about bringing a hospitality portion of that curriculum here, because those jobs are plentiful. They are good paying jobs. They are jobs that again, they're ladies and gentlemen dealing with ladies and gentlemen. We also have this wonderful stadium there. We need to make sure that tourism is enhanced. We get sports, we get concerts, we get the opportunity for entertainment, and the jobs that will go there with that as well as science and technology and pharma out in the West Shore. So those were my focuses, and I will continue to talk to those businesses.
All right, wonderful. Well, I think that concludes our Q&A for today. But I just want to thank both for the candidates, Leticia Remauro and Mark Murphy, for joining us today. And I wish you both the best of luck through the rest of your campaign. And I want to thank you all the young adults and all the providers and Youth Wins members for joining us today. Please feel free to keep in touch with us. Go to our website, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, and also subscribe to YouTube. And we're looking forward to engaging with you, with all the young adults here and those that weren't able to make it, around being more informed about the issues that were brought up today. And so I just want to thank the two candidates for joining us today. Just keep in mind that Staten Island also has many young adults that also has issues that they're really concerned about. And most of the people that we serve, 18 to 24, they also can vote as well. So we really appreciate the both of you being here to answer some of the questions from our young adults, and hope you'll continue having these discussions with young adults as the election day comes up.
Thank you, Roman. And for anyone that wants to contact me directly, you can do that with my cell phone, which is 718-354-6032. Text first, because I might be on a forum like this, but I'm always happy to answer your call. And if anybody wants to, needs help with employment, I'm happy to help out. And I thank you, Mark, for always being present. It's always great to do these forums with you, Mark. Thank you,
Leticia. Likewise. Again, if anybody would like to have further questions from me, we'd be happy to answer them. My email is mark@murphy4statenisland.com.
And if the two of you have time for one more question, we would like to get an audience question, because I'm seeing a lot of comments.
Yeah, I see that, and I don't know how to respond to them. Like, hey, I'm happy to answer any questions.
If you're both okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you. I don't know, any of the moderators, is there a question that you saw that you would like to think we should pose to the candidates? And I'm just scrolling for questions as well. Or if anyone has a question, you can write it in the comments section right now. This is young people, young adults, this is your opportunity to be heard. So just like you asked for in the comment section, we're giving you the opportunity now. So please put your questions in the comment section. And Mars, I know, just would you mind retyping one of the questions that you want to propose to the candidates? Jaylene is saying, go Mars, go. So Mars's question is about addressing homelessness in the North Shore. And so do either of you have any general comments on the homelessness in the area and what you're going to do as borough president to help alleviate some of the challenges that the population is facing?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that first, because I do have a lawsuit against Mayor de Blasio right now for building homeless shelters right next to public schools, grammar schools. And you know, the homeless shelters that he's building are not homeless shelters that actually plan for the future. These are for, a lot of them are for drug addicted individuals, and there's no mandate for that person to try to address their addiction and to actually have the tools to be able to live drug-free and to be able to sustain themselves in the future. My brother runs a homeless shelter in Pennsylvania, and so I do know a little bit about homeless shelters. And homeless experts will tell you that the best thing for to curb homelessness is long-term housing. But in order to have somebody able to live in long-term housing, they have to be able to deal with everyday life. The problem that we face with our homeless population is most of them are dual diagnosis. They are drug addicted, but also mentally ill. If they stay on the medications to help with the mental illness, it triggers the desire and the need for drugs. And so they can't balance it out. So faith-based homeless shelters seem to be the best alternative in America. They seem to do the best. But what we need to is not a revolving door drug treatment programs. What I mean by that is most of them are 30-day rehabs where people sober up and then are put back out into a community where their triggers are and where their drug dealers are. The insurance companies need to start paying for sober living facilities. These sober living facilities give people the tools to battle their addiction, which is a horrible disease. Many people in my family have dealt with addiction, and we've lost two to drug addiction, long-term drug addiction, heroin from Vietnam era. And we see everybody in Staten Island is touched by addiction. So we need to be able to first let people deal with sobering up. Secondly, is giving them the tools to be able to live a sober life. Third is finding long-term housing for them. And that is why I helped to rezone Bay Street, the Bay Street corridor, to make more affordable housing in the North Shore near public transportation. So homelessness is not something that can be addressed overnight, but I could tell you that under Mayor de Blasio and his lack of planning for it over the last 8 years, it has gotten worse. And we're not doing anything to give people hope for the future.
Thank you, Leticia. Mark?
Yeah, look, we have a problem, and that is that the city of New York continues to punish us as it relates to them building homeless shelters. I was at a rally with Leticia, actually, and that Debbie Rose sponsored over across the street from the Foundlings, where the mayor secretly, essentially, without any input from any elected official in Staten Island or any community board or anybody here, decided to go ahead with an RFP to put 99 men who were mentally ill and had drug addiction problems into the Foundling, directly next door to the Hungerford School, across the street from an PS, and down the street from an IS. And after they had just built a $5 million park and community center. And this, to me, was environmental racism, if you want my honest opinion. It was an area that could not absorb any more punishment, and it was a mayor that did not care. We have to be incredibly compassionate on how we handle and deal with people who are are homeless, people who are, first, I think we should look at sort of the dual diagnosis folks. That's one group. And then there are others like the women and children that they're going to house on Victory Boulevard and St. Paul's Avenue. That is, in my opinion, insulting to and an assault on those children and those women that they're going to put in that building. This is a tower that will house 400 women and all of their children, and there is no green space. There are no schools that aren't overcrowded. There's only Tompkins Square Park right there, and that is a notorious drug park. We need to help people break that cycle. And my opinion is, if you were to give Section 8 vouchers to these women and get the supportive services so that they could have a freestanding home that is completely taken care of by the landlord, the vouchers are paid for by the federal government, and you have the services there and the kids can go to schools, you have yourself an opportunity to save people. But putting them into a tower like that is not right. We have to be compassionate as it relates to the drug addiction programs. Yes, we must make sure that the insurance companies start paying for sober living facilities and paying for other programs, making sure that we get people into a Camelot long-term facility where they can rehabilitate and then get the tools needed to go back into society and hold a job and no longer be what would be homeless. And also, one of the other things we need to do is make sure that the city of New York doesn't send other boroughs homeless to Staten Island. The vast size of Manhattan and Brooklyn and Queens, unfortunately, they are also burdened, but they're sending overburden to us. And we need to be able to take care of Staten Islanders who are less fortunate than we are, and we need to find programs to help them. But we cannot be taking care of the Manhattan and Brooklyn homeless as well, because it's just, we don't have the space, we don't have the capacity to do it. But we must be compassionate. We must do what we can to help. But again, I think the Section 8 program has been a phenomenal program. It really gives people the opportunity to get out of that cycle. To the density of homelessness together, it does not help. And again, I want to be talking with our federal friends about this and looking at a holistic approach, because it's not just New York. This is Los Angeles. This is San Diego. This is Philadelphia. This is a huge mental health issue that is national. And again, we are seeing it now. So those are some of my thoughts on it. And again, we must be compassionate and do what we can to help people.
Well, thank you both for the encore questions, answering your encore question. And I do recommend to copy the chat if you can, because there's a lot of chatter between that question and a lot of the other questions that you're answering. And so I think it might be useful to copy kind of like what some of the youth were saying today, just so when you're out and about speaking with other young adults, that you can kind of address some of the other questions that were coming up. And we really appreciate the young adults for being actively engaged in the chat. And also we will have this video available on YouTube, and already talked to some of the service providers who will be using this video as a way of supporting some of their trainings around voter engagement and exercising young adults' voice. So again, Leticia and Mark, we thank you both for being with us today. Good luck with your campaigns, and thank you, young adults, for being with us as well. And for the young adults in the room, if you would like to learn more about Youth Wins, please go to our website at www.youthwins.me. And it's particularly if you're looking for particular opportunities with workplace training or placements or any other social services, we have a referral form where we can match you up with the right social service agency that will be able to support you. Thank you all again, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being part.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul.